all the UC schools, if you go to Ventura College, you follow the right curriculum, you get on board with your ed plan, you can transfer guaranteed to be admitted. That's the rule. So you could conceivably go to Ventura College, and I've got a student or two that are on this program. They don't pay to go to school, and they get $2,500 in financial aid. So that helps them with not having to work all the time and going to school. I went to watch the Fillmore Santa Paula game, the girls. What an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Screaming and shouting at a referee. I loved it, every minute of it. It was like a real football match, you know what I mean? You know how it is for a goalkeeper to guess where someone's going to toe punt the ball?
They don't even know where it's going.
No, do they, Hal? They just run up and kick it. And you got 80 of them screaming. It's crazy, mate. It's crazy. Go back 10 years, there was 4 million kids playing youth soccer. Why are they not playing anymore? Money.
Welcome back, Hoffy, to The Young Athletic. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for having me back on. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Obviously, you're still coaching at VC. And
30 seasons this year.
Wow.
31 years.
Congrats.
So, yeah, what did we do? 650 games coached.
Wow.
This time around. So I might push the 700 before I retire. We'll see.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
What is that, like 2 seasons, 3 seasons?
No, just 2. Yeah.
Okay.
We have 22 games a year, so I could probably get in there. I think we're at probably 660 or something like that.
2 more years.
Yeah, every year's been brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. This year was an injury-prone year. We had a lot of injuries for whatever reason. Just cycles. In 2016 was a devastating year. We started with 24. We ended up with 11.
Wow.
And this year we had virtually one week we had 9 kids out with injuries. So, but kudos to our athletic trainers at the college. They do a great job of keeping the kids active. And they never say no, which is so important. If you're an athlete, the last thing you want to hear is, I can't play on Tuesday. So those guys, all 3 of them, do a fantastic job for us. So
The trainers.
the athletic trainers, they're the unsung heroes, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They deal with sweaty feet, they tape it and all that stuff. I mean, come on. Especially those football guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Thankless job.
Well, you've had Moose in, so we just need to get a few more of them in, don't we?
Yeah.
The football coach came to talk to you.
Moose was cool.
Yeah, basketball coach Joey Ramirez would be a good call, because Joey won the state championship with Phil Matthews when they won 7 state championships, and played at 4-year schools, come back, and he's really big into Santa Paula. He does so much for the Santa Paula high school program, but he's also back coaching at VC again now. Mm-hmm. So, but he would be a good one for you. We need to try and get him in for you.
So, tell us a little bit about, VC, the culture, the life,
why
it's so important.
For me, it's important because it's local kids.
Yeah.
So you not see too many kids from. I think in my 30 seasons at VC, we may have had 10 kids from out of town. When I say out of town, that might be Fresno or someplace like that. We also have foreigners from like Thousand Oaks and, that area there. But we don't really have too many of them. I think it's, if somebody's interested, obviously we're interested. But we want to make sure that, number one, we take care of our community. And we have a great soccer community. And the demographics have changed so much in my time. I can remember for my first 10 years not having one Latin player on the team, not one Hispanic player. And now, I would say 80% of our kids come from Oxnard, Fillmore, Santa Paula, maybe Camarillo, coming out of Rio Mesa High School, Oxnard. So, but it's fantastic, because I think the Latin community has bought in for the women to play soccer. Mm-hmm. Years ago, it used to be, I know I have a person that was the national player of the year for us, and she had a twin brother, and what happened was the twin brother got to go away to school, and she didn't get to go away because they'd believe that that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? Now, she obviously ended up Trump. He's not done bad for himself. He's works for an aerospace company. He's got major in aerospace engineering. So he's done well for himself. And then the other young lady is a physical therapist, and she's doing great. Got 2 kids. And she still comes to VC. We still get to see them all, That's the great thing about the school. That's why I say to people, why should you choose VC, right? You're a high school senior. My first reaction to that is try and go away. Whatever you can do to go away, go away. Just remember, if you are an undecided major, it's a really bad opportunity for you to go to a 4-year school, get there for 2 years, and then change your major. So now you got another 2 years, right? And the parents are paying for it, you know. So I think people overlook the community college system. You know, we have 110 community colleges, 78 play soccer. So there is literally a place for every kid to play if they want to play, literally.
Is that just in California?
Just in California. In the country,
in the country, I'm sure.
in the country, there's only about, I want to say 150, because it's not quite as big. Now, remember, community college, city college sometimes called, or JUCO. JUCO has 3 levels. Division 1 is scholarship, so they can give just like every other school, 2 years. They can give room, board, tuition, fully funded. Really? What's it called? In Colorado, in Arizona, there's quite a few of them. And then you've got Division 2, which is partial. And then you've got the Division 3 colleges, which is where we fall, which is no scholarship money. When I say no scholarship money, we mean no athletic scholarship money.
But there is obviously a
There's
great
financial help. But some of the stuff I wanted to delve into a little bit of, you know, kids go away. Every kid wants to go away. I get it. They get locked into the, what we call the Kool-Aid monster, right? Which is if you don't play club soccer, you don't play at a certain level, you're not going to get to go away, et cetera, right? It's like the different acronyms and different leagues. And we'll chat a little bit about that after, because I'll give you a bit of insight on that. But basically, if you look at it logically, and I just mentioned this to you, you know, in California, anybody that goes to school, 4-year school, this is through a call called World Metrics. Each student will leave with a $12,000 to $13,000 debt per year. Even if you're on a scholarship, you're gonna leave with. So you're looking at $48,000 in that year. Tuition rates right now just look at Pepperdine, 98, cheap, 98,000.
That's what it is at Pepperdine?
Any private school, you're looking between 60 and 98. And that includes the Oregon States, the big schools. Now, if you go to a state school, it's a little different situation. You know, the UCs and the Cal States, you're probably looking at about 27. So it's still $100,000 to go to school. And then, you know, you've got obviously Division 3 schools, which kids can go to, where there's no scholarship money for athletics, but they have very, very good incentives for academics.
They make up for it.
So they make up for it. You're still not going to get as much as you might somewhere else, right? And then you've got other schools, but basically, you know, Division 1 with the NAIA rules have changed tremendously, and it's so difficult to get too into that. No, they've moved the scholarships from Division 1 women from 14 to 28.
Oh, they doubled it.
They doubled it. Same with the men. And now, where you used to give someone a full scholarship, they allow them to partialize scholarships up. But the kicker is, when you give a scholarship to an athlete now, it's for 4 years. So you have a bad year, they can't take your money away. So that changes recruiting. So I talked to a good friend of mine at Santa Clara University, and they don't really look too much. They used to obviously recruit high school seniors. But as of today, there's 860 transfer students in the portal. So where colleges are going now is transfer portal first, then high school seniors. Because if you remember, you think about it, if you got a transfer portal kid, they could have been at a school 2 years and played 24 games. And obviously they're more mature, they've been away from home. So that's has a big effect on Division 1. And I think last year the ripple effect was kids were going to UCLA, right? Kids were going to UCLA. And then the kids that were, say, going to go to Cal State Northridge, the top players were getting moved because they were going now to a UCI and the UCI kids. So it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And that'll change, that'll even out over a couple of years. But it's quite interesting, the amount of money. And then you look at, you know, people don't realize it, but on the men's side, I read this the other day, there's one school I just read that doesn't have one American kid on their team.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the average for the NC2A right now is 9 to 10% international students. On the women's side, it's only 3%. So obviously we've got the best soccer players in the world. We know that. But there are some good ones outside of here. And there are special ones that come in. The other thing was interesting was approximately 7% of all high school seniors playing soccer on the women's side, 7%, have an opportunity to go to either any college level, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So there's a lot of opportunities. And that's why I said to you before, I think anybody that wants to play college soccer can play. That's reality, you know. And then if you look at the likes of Ventura College, right? People say, why should I stay home? Well, number one, if you don't know what your major is, then you go to Ventura College. The general ed program is the same as at Stanford. The only difference is you're not paying all that money, and I'm not saying Stanford's not good or Berkeley or any other school, but you're going to be taught in a room with 500 kids and a professor. At Ventura College, you're going to school or you're going online, right? And maybe there's 28 kids in that class. The online classes are about 40 now, because obviously it's a little bit easier for the teacher to maneuver in the classroom, etc. So that's changed. That's been a game changer, because now like a kid from Thousand Oaks can go to VC, and literally in the season they have to come to train every day.
Right.
But after the season they can go online. But even in the season they do it online.
Yeah.
So that's changed. At Ventura College, I think we have about 3,500 to 4,000 kids in school, and of the 11,000 students we used to have, most of them now are online. Since COVID, it's just changed everything.
I'm sure it's changed.
But the great thing about a community college, and by the way, my son went to a community college, my granddaughter went to, all my grandkids, which I've got a lot of them, as you know, there's 3, all went to a community college. My daughter went to a community college. She has a PhD, a master's, and she has a BA from Cal Lutheran, Arizona State, and UCLA. She has a doctorate. But she went that route. She went to Cal Lutheran University, so what she did every summer was go to VC. Because the price, so she used to manipulate her classes. So if you go to a community college, you're gonna fall over when I tell you the cost, right? It's $46 a unit, which works out about $512 a semester. So for a year at Ventura College, you're looking at $1,000, which is incredible, right?
Yeah.
This is why people around the world are envious of the United States. $1,000 a year to get a college education. You only need 60 units to transfer, which is brilliant, right? And Ventura College and the state of California have the Promise program. So the Promise program is for any high school senior in Southern California that qualifies through the financial aid. So as long as they apply for financial aid, they're in the good books. It works out financially, they get it, which means free tuition for a year. You go to the other side of that, which is the second year of school, so your sophomore year. Ventura College, the school itself, gives about $250,000 away annually, and some of that goes towards the Ventura Promise. So if you hit certain grade level, I think it's 2.5, and you do your 24 units, you could qualify for a second year of school. Now you've got to remember, on top of that, you get financial aid. So you could conceivably go to Ventura College, and I've got a student or 2 that are on this program. They don't pay to go to school, and they get $2,500 in financial aid. So that helps them with not having to work all the time and going to school.
Yeah.
So the school is the most important part. You know that. Then you come to the soccer side of it. So the question you have to ask, every kid has to ask, you want to go to a 4-year school. Do you want to wear the shirt around campus? I'm a soccer player. I never play. Right? Do you want to be on the bench? Or do you want to play? And I always tell kids, you want to play. 4 years goes by so quick.
Yeah, it does.
So if you spend 4 years sitting, and, with the NIL rules comes this new rule. It's called a 5 for 5. We don't know when it's going to happen, but the NC2A Division II will vote next year on it. 5 for 5 means you've got 5 years of eligibility. You can play 2 years at a community college and 3 years at NC2A Division III and maybe Division II as well. If the Division I go that way, which with this lawsuit, everybody's worried about it. I mean, there's colleges that are going bankrupt, big colleges, because, a football player just transferred 2 days ago for a $1.4 million contract to move from one school to the other school through the portal, right? It's crazy. So if that passes, I think what you're going to do is the likes of our football team at our school, I'm sure they're going to be talking to UCLA, USC and saying, look, send your kids to us. We'll build them up. We'll make them bigger. We'll make them stronger. We'll make them faster in those 2 years. Because let's face it, if you're a freshman at UCLA, unless you're a stud, you're probably not going to play.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer for the football side of it. And probably basketball. I'm not sure about soccer. Because that recruiting thing, although and I know there's so many showcases out there now, you got to wonder, the college coaches have the budget to do it. And now they've invented the new one, which is the college ID camp, which was a novel idea 5 years ago, but now
they're everywhere.
Everybody's doing it. And look, I'm not saying it's not good, it's not bad, I don't know. But I just know that it's $250 to go to a college showcase. There was one in, the Legends just ran one with a lot of coaches, and they had a lot of kids. It was a really big one. I can imagine, but that was $500. So I can imagine that was worth going to. But the other ones with 5 colleges, it's tough, isn't it? Let's face it, the 26s have already signed. Yeah. The 27s will be committing very soon. So they're looking at 28s, 29s, aren't they? So it's interesting. Last year, we had a very small senior class soccer players in Ventura County, at least the ones that stayed home. We brought in 11 kids, which was pretty good, because at our level, every year you're looking at 11, 12 kids. Sometimes one year I know I had 20 freshmen, right? Now this year is a really big recruiting class, a really good one. So we're working hard, obviously. Watched a lot of high school games. I love watching high school soccer. It's very entertaining. Yeah. Sometimes it's like watching paint set, but sometimes it's exciting, I want to talk about 2 schools because I went to watch the Fillmore Santa Paula game, the girls. What an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. Screaming and shouting at the referee. I loved it, every minute of it. It was like a real football match, you know what I mean? And it always is because local community, all the kids play high school. Even on the boys' side, it's the same, And that's missing a little bit in high school soccer now.
Yeah, I mean, the boys don't really have the chance.
Well, years ago, when you'd go to watch a Boyner or, a Boyner playing Ventura, it was a hostile crowd. Now they go and they sit there in the chairs and they don't say anything. And I think sometimes the coaches do that. I know that we talk in the coaching schools with US Soccer about, letting the players play the game. But when it comes to a certain stage in the game, you may have to give some input. I mean, if you look at Conte that coaches Aston Villa, he's a bit of a nutter, isn't he? Screaming and yelling. But that's his style, whether it's right or wrong. He doesn't do it all the time. And then you look at Arne Slot, Liverpool, very quiet. So it's important how you do that. So one of the things I tell college kids that want to go to a 4-year school, go sit behind the bench and listen to what's being said. It's a great tip. I invite kids to come to our school when we're playing games and sit on the bench because we're allowed to do that. Obviously, the NC2As can't. And they get a feel for what we do. They come in at halftime, etc. So we try to make it as easy as possible. People say, well, if I go to Ventura College, what happens? Can I transfer? We have the UTAG, a UC tag agreement, which is a transfer agreement. So all the UC schools, if you go to Ventura College, you follow the right curriculum, you get on board with your ed plan, you can transfer, guaranteed to be admitted. That's the rule. The same with the Cal State system.
No way.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed
to get into a UC school.
But you have to follow that. Now, they don't say which one you get in. Okay. So it could be UC Merced, could be it could be UC San Diego. You don't know, but they guarantee you'll get into one. I know some kids that have just been admitted to UC Merced. They don't want to go there, but they got that guarantee to get in. The Cal State system is exactly the same. It's exactly the same, right?
Really?
You've got to follow the mapping, and then you'll get in. A lot of transfer students. I've had at Ventura College 262 players matriculate through our program in 30 years. Not everybody plays soccer. And I certainly don't sell Ventura College on you playing at the next level, unless you choose to. Because what happens is, invariably, the kids will come in, a recruit came in the other day and said, I want to continue to play. So that's great. Are you open to moving out of California? And you always get that, I don't know. Well, we've had kids go to North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, all over the country. We've got good contacts. And they all want a California kid. They all want California kids. But our California kids don't want to go out of town. So one of my special players this year got offered a chance to go to a school in Carolina, virtually a full ride. And we were like, this is a no-brainer. And she said, no, I want to play Division I soccer. So does she want to play, or does she want to wear the badge saying she's going to play? And she's good enough to play Division I soccer at the right school. Because and I know there's different levels Division I, right? If you're at UCLA, it's a little different than somewhere else, right? So that's kind of the reason I wanted to come in and chat, is just to kind of give everybody an insight. Yes, you should want to go to a 4-year school. And obviously your parents are going to support you, definitely. But if you stay home, you also need that parent support to agree to stay home. But so many kids that I know go away and change their major.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's one of the biggest selling points that I had no idea about, was that if you go to VC, it's a guarantee into the UC system. Because that's such a coveted, spot.
It's the best kept secret we have, and that's not just VC with the guarantee. That's every community college, all 74 of them. Actually, 110 of them, because you don't have to play sports to do it. So, that's a great thing about California. The reason California doesn't play in the JUCO finals, so JUCO have their national championships. We don't play in them because we finish at the state. So we go final two in the south, final two in the north, have a final four. That's our championship every year. So, that's coming around. And, if you look at the statistics on that, it's like, I think the South has won 25 years and they've won about 6, the North. So to get to the finals from the South, even just to the Final Four, is really tough. We managed to do it in 2009. It was tough just to get there. And that was a heck of a team.
So why don't the SoCal JUCO teams play in the finals,
the
national finals?
It just costs too much money.
Oh, yeah.
Now remember, we don't have scholarships, right? We have maybe the financial aid from the state, the promise. So we can't afford to fly to Arizona. We can go to Arizona, by the way. You can travel any way we want. We're allowed to travel internationally every 4 years. And we've traveled to Costa Rica twice, and we've traveled to England as a college team in my time, which has been fantastic for the kids. But it's really more about the human side of it. When we went to Costa Rica, I never forget it, we played some good games, obviously against women's teams. And then we had one day when we were scheduled to go to an orphanage, right? And the kids didn't want to go to the orphanage. The players didn't want to go. They said, it's going to be too sad. And we went to, now, if you're in an orphanage in Costa Rica, you're there until you're 18 years old. So we went to this orphanage, and my kids gave away jewelry, gave away so many things to the kids, and they loved every minute of it. But they didn't want to go, so again, that was more cultural to do that. So, and my biggest thing about soccer is this long-term relationship with the game, right? I want kids to play for me at VC and then go on, if they want to play at a 4-year school, fantastic, but I want them to play in the Arena League or in the Sunday Men's League or Women's League or whatever it is, because that's what it's about. I don't judge success on wins and losses. I judge success on matriculation of the kids and, performance. And if we've talked to you about this before, performance for me equals success, because if you play well, that's all you can do. It's out of your hands, right? So people coming into Ventura College, the first thing I tell them is they're a student athlete. Student first, athlete second. We've had now 16 years with a 3.1 GPA or higher, right? We've had numerous academic All-Americans and academic All-American teams, which doesn't mean too much to most people, but to the schools, it's a sign that we're doing the right things, right? And that's what really you should get from a community college, right? If you don't go to class, you shouldn't be in school. Your parents are paying, right? So that's the talk we have when the player comes in. We tell them, you're on the girls' varsity team, right? Yeah, on the girls' varsity team. Well, now you're going to be on the women's college team. So that means I'm going to treat you like a woman, like somebody has a job. That's the way it's going to be. You're going to be in your seat doing your studies. And if you don't, you're not going to play. So we try and lay that on the line in the beginning. And it's worked well. We still have kids that struggle. And I know that you can go all the way through school with C's, go to USC, UCLA, Berkeley, whatever, and graduate with a C.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't say that on your degree, does it?
Right.
So for some kids, it comes easy, for some not. I think on the men's side, for the likes of Rossi and the guys that coach the men, it's a lot harder than it is on the women's side.
Yeah, the boys don't seem to care about academics as much.
They all want to play in the MLS. They all want to play professionally, and they don't take it as seriously. The ladies realize that, this is 2 years. And I know, obviously it's great. We got a great professional league, of some fantastic people in it, some fantastic clubs putting money in, but it's still a minute, amount of females that are going to play in that league. And now they're bringing more and more international people in. Now you got the kids coming back from all over the world coming to the US again. And obviously the English league, the women's league, doing really well as well. So it's between those two leagues now. And then you've still got the Barcelonas. Every professional club, pretty much in Spain and Italy, now have a women's pro team. And same in Sweden. So that's changing. So these players that want to continue their education, The most important things for them is, number one, if you're undecided, think about it. And if you stay home, go somewhere where you can enjoy it. And we've got 3 community colleges, Moore Park, Oxnard, and Ventura. You've got 3 choices, all good choices, right? You know, for me at Ventura College, the most important thing is that they enjoy themselves. With club soccer, if you're a 12, let's say you're going into high school. You're going into high school this year. So you're going to play club, high school, club, high school, club. It's going to happen for 4 years. And that 4 years, it's not like it used to be where you get a month or 2 off. It's 4 years. So my hardest job now is convincing kids to still play because they've lost that passion and that love for the game.
They've burned out.
They're burned out, yeah. So the hardest job for me is recruiting kids is really tough now because years ago you'd pick the phone up and you'd talk. Have you tried calling one of your players? Sorry, I've not sent my voicemail up. So it's texting.
Yeah, everyone texts.
So I send out... in the last month, probably 300 text messages to players because I follow them. I look who scores goals. I make sure I watch them, and I make sure I let them know that I know, that I've been there. And that's how you recruit this day and age. Not with the Division I schools because you know the difference. I mean, I listened to someone today, and if you want to be a player, you're going to do more than if you want to be on the bench. If you want to get to be a player, you got to do more than walk around campus with a I'm on the college team shirt, right?
Right.
So for Ventura College kids and community college kids, I think a lot of them are, I know the boys that play for Ross are all serious, right? They're all really serious. On the women's side, it's a little bit different because they all play for different reasons. It's just like when you do a coaching school, And I ask coaches, why do kids play youth soccer? And the one thing they miss is babysitting. That's the one thing they don't say. I'm like, guys, tell the truth. Right?
You try not to get in that position.
No, but sometimes it is, right? Sometimes
it is, yeah.
Parents just need somewhere for the kids to go. And they don't want to be there, maybe. So it makes it hard for you as a youth coach to say, how can I inspire this kid that doesn't want to be here? And then you've got that kid that wants to play for the national team, right? So it is difficult, But I think community college in general is the best kept secret that we have.
Well, I think the most... If it was me as a senior in high school, the most appealing thing would be the guarantee into the UC system.
That, but also think about your parents, mate, saving all that money.
Yeah, well, the kids don't understand that.
No. I think I did a little bit of the Cal State system. It's about 28 to 30,000, including room and board, to go to. So if you go to Cal State LA or Cal State Long Beach, you're probably looking at $30K. You get some money. I know that my granddaughter went there. She did pretty good. She got good financial aid. So it was about 10 grand to go to school, but she had to pay rent. But that's it's a good opportunity. But again, always look to go away. And I think people have got to understand there's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAA. You've also got community colleges. You've also got military colleges. You've got all kinds of different opportunities. So think about where you want to go and, reach out to the coach.
Who are your top recruits, can you say?
Well, the hardest thing for us is the letters, acceptance letters have just gone out. So the UC letters are out. The Cal State letters will be coming out very soon. And what happens primarily is you'll get your letter from Cal State Northridge or Cal State LA or Cal State, Bakersfield, whatever. That will come along with a financial aid packet. And parents then make decisions based on, number one, where do you want to go? And number two, how much is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
And the reason the Cal State system have left the application process open later is because kids are not applying to go to school. And it's not because they don't want to go. It's the money, in this economic climate, it's tough, man. Yeah. It really is, to say I'm going to, I have one young lady that got a great scholarship to go to a school in Arizona. This was last year, 2 years ago. And the economy's way worse now. Dad works, mum stays at home. They've got 3 siblings. And she got offered a ride that would have cost her $800 a month for 2 years, which is really good. That's everything.
Yeah.
And the dad's like, I can only just pay my rent and pay this, pay food. I can't pay that for her. So he opted to stay home. She's at the college, Ventura, has a great career. It's her second year. And she'll stay now another year to make sure she gets everything right. And she'll transfer in the spring of 27 because she gets that guarantee as a transfer student. Mm-hmm. So she's obviously not on the right track. When you go into the college VC, you've got to decide, is your program going to be towards a state school or is it a private school or a UC school? So you've got to kind of look at that, and that's why we have an athletic counselor who gives them that advice. And, the state requires every student has an ed plan. So you have a roadmap. And if you drop off that, say, for instance, you're in an algebra class and you drop that class, that changes your ed plan. So now you have to go back in and talk to the counselor. Years ago, it wasn't that effective because it was only the student athletes that had to have that. So now remember, at a community college, you have to take 80% of your academic load has to be real classes, not basket weaving and ceramic tiles. It has to be that. And then your athletics or your electives are on top of that. So our kids all the players that play for me take 16 units in their first semester. Most of them will take 18 to 20 in the second semester. They need 60 to graduate. So you could graduate in 3 semesters from Ventura College. 20, 20, 20. Right, and so it's that's why you say people don't realize it. It's a great option, and you're right here locally. You've got no overhead. Now, obviously, I know kids don't want to be home with mum and dad. They want to get out there and go to Santa Barbara and
I think
join Isla Vista and do that stuff.
I think as you get older and mature, you realize that this is a special place, and you never want to leave.
No, I can tell you a great story. John Woolley was the vice president of Ventura College. He was a really big athletic supporter, and he played a lot of golf. And John retired, 15 years ago, and went to Europe, went to all around the world playing golf. Gone for a year. And then one day I was at the soccer fields, because we used to play on the West Field, right? I was on the soccer field, and he was there hitting balls. I'm like, John, what are you doing? What are you doing back? He said, Steve, I've been to 12 countries in a year. And the best country to be in and the best place to be in is right here. The weather is unbelievable. Yeah. So he's home to stay. He came back and loved it. So, yeah. But
I came back too.
Yeah, once you leave, you're going to come back. Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about the pyramid?
The alphabet soup?
Yeah, I mean it's so confusing, and I did a lot of research coming in, and basically we put it down into tiers. Right, this is what a lot of people have done. So tier 1, academies and national platforms. And I think you'll understand this. MLS Next is obviously a national platform. It's attached to Major League Soccer. And they have 2 different levels, right? They have the academy clubs and they have the non-academy clubs. But basically, you're on a good track, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to talk about the best, because and I know that's all subjective, right? And then you got the ECNL, which is the Elite Girls National League. And that's been going for a long time. A lot of good players play there. And there's an expense added to that, which is quite expensive. We know that. So you got to think about, if the expense, let's say, is $10,000 a year, and you're going to play 5 years, $50K. If you go to a state school, that's 2 years tuition, and you're going to get in, right? So people have got to think about that. They don't. Then there's the Girls Academy, which is relatively new, and I know maybe in Southern California it's not as of a higher level, but around the country, in other states, it's pretty high. It's a pretty good level. So they're really the tier 1 leagues. And this is, when you say alphabet soup, we mean it, don't we? Because poor parents, they just don't know what they're doing. Then if you look at the regional and state league level, which is the tier 2 clubs, you got the SoCal League, you got the Northern California Premier League, you got the Cal North Interregional League, you got the National League. I don't want to confuse people. You got EA 64. You can keep going, right?
Those are the obscure ones.
You got MPL. You got MPL.
Yeah.
MPL 2. You got EA 2. You've now got MLS Next 2. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then obviously you've got your local leagues, which is SoCal, Coast Soccer League, and then your recreational stuff. So it's tiered out. And the hardest thing for a parent is, where do I go? Yeah. And there's always someone trying to push them to somebody or other, right? I talked to someone last year. He's a high school coach, and his team had just joined. I think they just joined the NPL or one of those. And he's like, I'm like, you like going to San Diego? And he's like, well, no, I don't really like going to San Diego. So we're welcome to it, because there's no travel restriction. I mean, you could be here and playing in Chula Vista tomorrow. My grandson had a game in Chula Vista at 8 a.m. 3 weeks ago with his under 11 boys.
Terrible.
So, well, it is, but we're following that dream, aren't we? The parents, it's parent driven.
To be honest, like I used to coach a fusion, and there's a lot of talk about status and those higher leagues, and now I coach younger girls, and I just don't have to think about it, and it's totally great.
Well, more, obviously, my son Joe has been, he was, he worked at LMU for 7 years as a women's assistant coach. He was Fram's director of coaching, took the club from 24 teams to 200. He worked for Juicer, he worked for Surf in San Diego as a coach there. He was a technical director for West Coast. And he's come home, and like you, he's coaching a lower tier team because he just wants to coach kids to play soccer.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hear about how do I get here, how do I get there. People sell you on that. You don't need to worry about it, right? They're all going to sell you. So, but can it help you? Yeah, for sure. If you're going to a showcase and there's no college coaches there, it's not really a showcase, it's a tournament. So people have changed their names from tournaments to showcases. And I do believe a lot of them just pull the college logos up there and put it on there to get a bit of sizzle, right? So, I think people check it out. Some things that are actually pretty positive to do is like the Surf Cup or, the Manchester City Cup or whatever it is. You can go online and sign up to be a guest player. Now that makes sense, right? You go down there, maybe you're going to guest play for the Hawaii Bulls. What a good opportunity, because sometimes those teams can't bring 20 players or 18 players.
Yeah.
So, but people don't sell you on that. Why? Because they don't want you to leave the team. That's the biggest thing. Like, when I coached in club soccer, if you asked me, can I borrow 2 of your players for a tournament? I'd be like 100% yeah, because I want the kids to play more. Now, people are worried that they won't come back.
Insecure.
They're insecure. And the problem I have with that is if you're a good coach, ain't nobody leaving your team. I always tell kids, they say, can I take some classes at Moore Park College? Or can I take some classes at Oxnard College? Absolutely. I've got no worries. If you want to play football, soccer locally, I want you to play for me. And if you want to do your classes there, that's fine. You do miss that being on campus with the rest of the ladies, but that's okay. As long as they're comfortable in what they're doing, So, and now U.S. Soccer have finally come out from, if we look at this country as the children and U.S. Soccer the parents, they're the worst parents in the world because they let everybody do what they want. And it's all because of politics, just like obviously what's happening in the country now. It's all because of politics. Years ago, obviously, I was very involved with U.S. Soccer. Dan Flynn, who was the CEO for U.S. Soccer, met with him a lot. And Dan hated the youth people because every time he tried to do something, they've got their own little fiefdoms. California has theirs, Cal South has theirs, North Carolina has theirs. Everybody's got their own agendas. And Dan hated it. It was just crazy. So the good thing that Matt Crocker's done is he actually got them together. US Club and USYS have now come together, and they're going to, hopefully in 26, 27, maybe 8, maybe, they're going to have one national championship. So where they had the MPL national championship and the US one, they're now going to try and go to one, which is a coming together, which is a good thing. Whether that leads to something else, I don't know. But it's a good thing. Because if you look at USYS, first of all, has 2.6 to 3 million kids playing in USYS. They are the biggest organization in this country. 500,000 to 700,000 in US Club. Right? That's reality. That's the numbers. And you've got US AAA, you've got some other groups as well. So basically, we're about 3 million, 3.2. If you go back 10 years, there was 4 million kids playing youth soccer. Why are they not playing anymore? Money, affordability. When we started with the grassroots courses with US Soccer, it was always about not putting up roadblocks for coaches to get better, because we want youth coaches to be able to grow the game. And they've done a pretty good job of that, although now it goes back down to the states, and now the states are charging more because they're hurting because they've got competition, right? So it's interesting.
Yeah, the B, I signed up for it and then I took myself out because I was just too busy. But it was $3,000.
Yeah, no, it's $3,000. It's $3,000. Yeah.
Like,
and the A is about 4.5. Yeah, yeah. And
crazy.
Look, the positive thing about a license for me, first of all, I would never drop my kid off at an unlicensed childcare. So I don't care who the hell it is, they should have at least the minimum requirement, which is a 9v9 or 11v11 minimum. If you're a parent and they don't have that, what the hell are you doing? And that really isn't enough. The D license should be a prerequisite. I know that if you're coaching the MPL or one of those now, you've got to have a D license, right? The D license is 40 hours, it's $500. But it tells you that that coach wants to learn. I mean, you don't go to school and get given a degree. You got to work for it. And we've got so many young coaches, and I love the fact that we've got so many young coaches, 21, 24, 25. Everywhere else in the world, they're still playing the game, but not in the US, because there's a buck to be made. And I'm not saying they're bad coaches. It's just, I think they treat everybody like a pro. This is how I was coached in college, right? So that's kind of hard, I think, on the kids. And that might be a reason kids don't play soccer. And you go to the other side of it, and we've got our local group. I know for our AYSO Region 39, Chris and Melanie, who run that league, they can't get enough volunteers. The volunteerism is gone because people would rather pay than volunteer. So for an organization like AYSO, who have just made an unbelievable change.
What's that?
They've just taken what they call the AYSO Club Program. So what was it called?
AYSO United.
AYSO United, no more, gone, finished.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's like 9,000 kids that are not playing it. Now they're trying to start something else up, which is good for them. But that was away from their philosophy. They were never about the competitive game. They were about balanced teams, grassroots soccer, which I love. And it's great. Ventura has a fantastic region. They do a great job. They don't have a spring league, AYSO, because there's no volunteers to run it. They don't want to do it. And then the people at the top give 10 weeks of their lives for it. So, I'm all about all soccer, not just the clubs, not just, and that's why you think about it. I have kids come to our half time. I don't know whether you've been to a game, but we have, before the game, we play the national anthem, and we have AYSO Region 39 night. We had 300 kids there. All walk out on the field with the coaches and the players, play the national anthem, then they play at halftime. It's like a war zone, right? Then after the game, the kids my players sign autographs, right? Now, I go back 10 years, and kids on my team say to me, I came to one of those nights. I was here when the girls signed picture, and I've got my picture at home. So you can make an impact, right? And what we want to do is make the kind of impact that keeps the kids playing. And I just think it's too much right now. If I could get a magic wand, I'd say that every kid should have a month off in the summer.
Yeah.
Just a month, And I know some clubs do 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, but minimum of a month, And everybody wanted the year-round league, and we've got it, but no one likes it. The coaches don't like it, right? Because it never stops. You know what I mean? Whereas before, when you had like the Coast Soccer League was just the fall, and then you have an option still to play spring. That seems like a better way to go, because spring replaces tournaments, which we used to do years ago. The average kid years ago used to play 85 games a year when we did the math. So a lot of games. Mm-hmm. But have we got better players now?
Hard to say.
Landon Donovan was pretty good, right? Eric Winaldo was pretty good, right? Kobe Jones was pretty good. They all play. So, it's hard to say, but is it too much? Are we overcoaching them? Is it too much for them?
Yeah, I had a club team, I had boys team for 4 years essentially, and I was very aware of like trying not to let them burn out. Trying to keep it fun, still competitive, still developing, but like, it's not the end of the world if we lose a couple of games, or if, we're not as serious as, the top clubs and players are. But still, I had at least one player not to play high school this year, and I was like, oh, I'm sad for him.
It's good. It's good that you realize that.
Well, I was burned out in college too.
Well,
so
sure. Look, that's when you're doing too much, isn't it? It was funny because about a month ago I was doing a course, and we had 30 coaches in the room, and we talked about exactly this. And then I said to them, so how many of you guys give your kids 2 evaluations a year? One person in the room. So I said, wait a minute. I'm a bit lost. I try not to get too upset about people being paid to coach, right? Because when I came through soccer in this country, for 20 years, I didn't take a penny for coaching. I coached for free. Whether it's the Olympic Development Program, whether it was club teams, whatever. It changed, and I'm fine with that. So I said, wait a minute. So you take, how many people are coaching and getting paid? And like 22 put their hand up. And one was the director of a club. But he was more of an administrative director, because it was like an 11v11. So I said to him, so wait a minute, you don't demand your coaches give feedback? No, not really thought about it. And you other guys that get paid, you don't give feedback? So I said, well, do you understand that you're really damn teachers, right? You're teachers. And you know what a teacher does every semester? Gives you a freaking report card. So you're taking money off people with the wrong way of doing it. Kids need to have an idea where they're at. Good or bad, right? To get better. And I know a lot of clubs do it now, but that should be a standard procedure, shouldn't it? That you give them. With my players, halfway through the season, the college players, we sit down and I answer questions. And the questions normally is, Coach, what can I do to play more? My response to that normally is, what can you do to help your team? Because it's a team game. And it's at the college level, obviously, it's different. It's not about how many minutes you play. It's about what you do in the minutes you play. If you go on and score a winning goal with a minute left, you're at headlines, right? Mm-hmm. So, you ask players, like a player said to me, Coach, I played forward for 2 years and I don't know why I didn't play enough. And then I'll say, well, how many goals do you have? 4? Oh, okay. And how many assists? 3. And that was in 48 games. So when you say that to them, it becomes a reality. Now, some kids, believe me, they work hard, they move in the right areas, they create opportunities for other people. But at the end of the day, stats speak. Data is important, isn't it? It hurts a little bit, when you do that. It hurts me at the college level, and it's back to the college. I didn't want to mix them up, but it hurts when I don't make changes in a game, right? So I said 2 years ago, didn't do it last year, I'd say to the players at the end of the game, for those players that didn't get a chance to play today, I apologize. I wish we could have got you in. I say that, right? At the end of the season, I have a meeting with a young lady who's a very, very good player. She's one of those players that played a lot. And she said to me, I've just got one piece of advice for you and one thing that pissed me off. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, when you apologize to those players for not playing, that was wrong. I said, well, what do you mean it was wrong? She said, well, I played at club side and no one ever apologized to me. I just had to work hard to get my starting spot. And I thought about it and I think she's right. You give it every day. How can you get better? You got to show us in training. But I think coaches can't, youth coaches cannot manufacture information. It's like we talk about the coaching schools, right? If you're doing a finishing session, you've got to have quantitative data. How many shots did you have? How many shots on target did you have? Now you can look at that. And it's the same with youth players, right? Why am I not playing enough? Well, you don't run fast enough. You need to get a speed trainer. 90% of the time, they'll say you need a private trainer, right? Because then they can do it for them. So that's a fault with soccer. Goalkeepers need private trainers, no doubt about it. But field players, if you're not playing full time, think about leaving the team and going somewhere where you will play full time. Because the only way you get better in soccer is by playing soccer.
Playing the games.
The game is, when I came from England, that was the big thing in all the coaching schools. The game's the best teacher. The game's the best teacher. And it still is. We play every day at the college. We'll play 11v11. And the restriction will be below the knees. Or we'll put balls on the sideline and we'll say the first one to the ball gets the ball. If it goes out off a blue and the blue run and get it, it's their throw it. So we try and make it to where it's super energy, because that's the game. If you don't train like real, you won't play real, right? And I think that's hard. It's really hard for youth coaches. You go to your practice and you got a quarter of a field, right? Some people have an eighth, but let's say a quarter of a field and you've got under 18s. How the heck can you work with your back four on spatial awareness when you've not got 55 yards to play on? Well, 75 yards, some fields, right? 70. Ours is 74 yards. So, the distances between is so hard. So when kids come to me, we'll have a situation where our number 2 4, and 5 have slid right over, and our number 3 is on the touchline. So there's a 40-yard gap. And I forget, they don't know. So we have to go over it with them and say, look, no, what happens? You must stay connected. And that's a part of this growing concern of the no space. And you can't control it as a coach, I know. But it's so hard for you to driving balls over 40 yards. Heading is becoming a problem. I don't know how it is with your girls. Well, they might have.
Wait, we don't do it yet, yeah.
You don't do it yet. Well, see, that's a problem because you should be doing it now with a Nerf ball. You should be doing it with a very light ball, volleyball. Because when they come to get 15, they don't know how to head the ball still. So what we've done by removing heading is a good thing because of the concussions. The bad thing is we've just forgot about it. Don't have to worry about it. Whereas, like I said, you get a Nerf ball out there. For our kids, they'll rather duck than head the ball or get it on their chest, you know. I mean, it's crazy. But that would be a part of what I would say a club should implement. You will do heading maybe as an 11-year-old before you go into the 13s every week with a ball. And you can train heading. Oh, yeah. It says you're allowed to do X amount per week. I just wouldn't use a heavy ball, you know. But that's one of those ones in the game that's getting technically bad. That and you know, kids not understanding that you don't dribble when you're supposed to. You know, you're playing as a number 2 and you're dribbling out the back. You know, when they're young, it's fine. You know, but it's really interesting when kids come to college and you ask them what they do well. They come for a visit and they'll say, "What?" I'll say, "What do you do well?" And they look at me like, "What do you mean we would do well?" Well, what's your strength? I talk a lot. Okay, that's great. So, you know, we can go to a party and we'll have a good conversation, right? But what do you do well? And they don't know. Tell me about your roles and responsibilities in number 2. What are you supposed to do? Give me 4 things. No comment. So that's because our coaches are not educating them. Mm-hmm. And that is a little bit towards the coaching schools. Because years ago, we used to spend 18 hours on an E-license. So it was between what you do now, 18 hours. We spend 30 minutes on every technique. Lofted pass, driven pass, chip ball, collecting with the thigh, collecting, you know what I mean? Every technique, 30 minutes. And we'd create a little session within that 30 minutes to show the technique. So when you got a rec coach, he knows, he can't show it, but he can have a player show it, right? We used to do that, but we don't do that anymore. So consequently, you get the kids coming out of rec soccer and they don't know that technique. Yeah. You know, then we had a change in US soccer where one statement was, if they use the toe, it's okay. Well, it is. Someone just scored a goal with a toe punt 2 weeks ago in the Premier League, and it's all over the news. Oh, man, he toe punted it in. Well, yeah, you can do that.
Sometimes that happens. Yeah.
It happens. You do what you got to do. But you teach technique, right? You know, so.
Yeah, I just, you know, I have these younger girls, and for a lot of them, this is their first year at club. They were ASO girls before, and they just need the fundamentals.
Yeah.
You know, toe touches, bells, everything. Yeah. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah, that and, you know, playing 4 against 0. Mm-hmm. Put a couple of flags out there and have them play. I mean, you have to dummy it down a lot, and then the space might be bigger. You know, at the school, you know, we'll play a rondo in a 12 by 12, and it could be 6 against 2 or 6 against 3, right? You can't do that, but you could play 5 versus 1. Right? So I think that's the challenge you have. People ask me, we're the best youth coaches in the world, and I would say in the US, because you're dealing with kids that have never seen the soccer at a real level. Right? You've got to show them everything. Yeah. Now, other people say to me, do we have better coaches than when I first started? And I have a hard time with that one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because I do believe the old system that we had with the coaching education, I'm talking through the coach education program, obviously, where we used to have the F license, 9 hours, the E, 18 hours, and then the D. Then we decided to pull that E out, which was like an interim license, and then we have the 9v9, the 11v11. 87% of coaches never go to a D license. They go 11v11 and they're done. Before, 82% went to the E, because it was only a weekend. But in our infinite wisdom, we decided that it was too much. But the D license is, you've done it. It's a long course now, you know, and it's a big commitment, and it's $500. It's a lot of money. It's still, I think, of value. I remember going to my C license. Santa Clara University. My coach was a guy called Ziggy Schmidt. You know him, I'm sure you know Zig. And then Steve Sampson. He was at Santa Clara University. And Eric Winalda's dad was my partner in that group. Yeah, Dave was in that group. Couldn't play soccer. Eric could play soccer. But that was a 10-day course. 10 days, 10 hours a day.
Wow.
The B license, I went to Cal Lutheran. That was it. That was like the weather right now, only worse. And that was 10 days, 10 hours a day. It was crazy. My A license was at San Diego State, and that was totally enjoyable. I had Ziggy again, and I had Dean Weisberg, and it was great. So I do think as a coach educator, you can inspire people.
I think, you know, I think I've given this feedback before. Maybe it wasn't to you, but, you know, I've taken all those classes through the C. Next up would be the B. And I would just say, like, you know, that you mentioned before, those different techniques that you learn in the E.
Yeah.
I know how to do those things. I can teach them. But, like, I would love something more specific like that in the courses. But they're not specific at all.
My biggest gripe, if it's a gripe, when we did the D license in the past, it was 2 sessions Saturday, 2 sessions Sunday, 4 sessions overall, live sessions, right? And then the actual test, the assessment, was you coaching a game. So it's a 9v9 game, or 11v11, whatever, 9v9 game, and you're playing out the back. And your opponent is pressing high. You had 1 freeze to nail it. Because I don't care how many drills you do or how many activities you create, it doesn't mean you can coach soccer, because you have to read the game and understand the game. You know what I mean? So I love it when I do the D license. I still do that. I have the coach do a session, and we talk about it afterwards. And I tell the truth. You know, if that was a real one, probably you'd fail. And, you know, we get feedback. So that's where I think that we're missing it. The E license was just a great between license, you know. Now, people like in the Northern California area, they used to have the pre-E, the pre-D. Well, that was definitely to generate revenue, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think the technical aspect of the game needs looking at. And I don't know why U.S. soccer is so anti-doing something like that. When we developed the youth modules or the youth courses, the 9s, the 4s, the 11s, because I was on that committee for 3 years doing that, and we all fought the same thing, the time. They want to do it in 2 hours. It's got to be 2 hours. 2 hours on the field, 2 hours in the classroom. What we wanted to do was 1.5 on the field, 1.5 in the classroom, 1.5 on the field. Because now they're getting 2 sessions out of it, which is, when you ask any coach that goes to a coaching course, they go for the sessions. They don't go for the lectures. I think what we do, though, and I think you'll agree, is we now have more coaches that can create and draw up lesson plans.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's part of it, because organization is critical.
Yeah.
They can go in and they can create that lesson plan. You know, they know what the main principle is, they know what the sub-principle is, they know what the player actions are. All those words, though, when you're teaching, it's hard for coaches, especially from a different culture. We had a guy from, in the last one, Slavko, he was Yugoslavian, man, or whatever, he was from Europe, you know, and we're talking about guided discovery questioning, right? So, you know, obviously you go up and you ask a player, you know, what would your options be? And then show me. Well, he didn't get that part of it, you know, so he got, and this is in front of 25 people, he'd go up and say, what are you doing? Go there. I'm like, Slavko, that's not really guiding. You know? So, yeah, life's changed. But I think that I look at my career over my years, and I've never been one of those guys to manage. Definitely, I was a real psycho with referees for a lot of years, which I know young coaches are. I was, you know, I mean, I was like, I was pretty bad. But, you know, then you realize that they're a big part of the game, and we can't get enough of them. You know, so I have guys come to VC, and, you know, I do get mad with them occasionally, and my players look at me like, wow, you know, but they know what I'm like. And I also know when it's too much. But you don't do it all the time, you know. Some coaches do. Some coaches are like on the right way. That would be a big thing for me, is if we could just back off on them. Because if you look at the referee community, they're either 50 and older or under 25. The middle-age group are like, forget it, I'm not being shouted at.
Yeah, I reffed intramurals in college, and I was like, that's enough for me.
Yeah, I did.
You just get yelled from both sides.
You'll love this. I came to the United States in 1983, and in 1985, I was the director for coaches for AYSO Region 39. That was because the year before I was the equipment director. What a nightmare! 3,000 uniforms. Oh my God! I thought, no more. I'm leaving. They said, well, we'll do the coaching thing. So I did the coaching thing, and it was the final at El Camino for like U11 boys, and the referee didn't show up, and they had to play it, so I refereed. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. Both sidelines. I'm like, oh no, I'm done. And I do referee at school, at the college. I'll referee our games type thing. And I like to cheat a little bit there, you know what I mean? Because referees don't cheat intentionally, but they do create controversy. You know that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would never be a referee. So forget it. Forget it. Even when they went on strike, I did contemplate, maybe I should go. And I thought, no, that was like 1 minute. I can just imagine people seeing me on the dark side. Right? And Darth Vader. I don't think so.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny because you develop these relationships with the referees.
Oh, you do.
You see them all the time.
When I first started doing our showcase at VC, for the first 15 years, they were really good. I'd call up Ali and these guys and say, would you do the games? Give me the young referees, the new ones that need experience. And they'd do the college games. Because we have 12 to 14 college teams come in every year over 2 days. And it was a great experience. And what I used to do is give them $100 and a bunch of gear, whether we were Nike or whatever flavor we were. I used to give them gear, and they loved it. And then, of course, the guy at the top who runs the referees decided, well, no, that I should be getting my $7 a game on that. I should be a sanctioned referee, So then they changed it. So now they don't get anything, they get paid. But let me tell you, the first thing the referees do is come, who's paying me today, right? You know that. And there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. But, a long time ago, I used to think, well, if I was getting paid for a job and I didn't do a good job, I'd want to know. But they don't want to know if they're not doing a good job, do they? Because ultimately, they don't change their calls.
And they have to get paid because they might not get paid after.
Oh, yeah, you got to pay them before the game. At college, you have to sign their forms. And, look, there's some really good ones and there's some that just need to improve. But high school used to be a real struggle for you, right? Because the games were at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I understood that totally. But now, I mean, everybody in the Channel League, is it Channel League now or is it some other league? Buena, all those guys have all got lights and turf. They're at night. That's a game changer. When I coached at Buena High School from 1985 to 91 with Sean, we played at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The JVs kicked off at 4:30. No, we played at 2 and they kicked off at 4. Maybe got a half an hour in. Right now, it's a game changer. Westlake, they've all got it. Monte League have all got them. It's crazy. I think Cerritos College, which was they've done a really good job. They're just putting in turf there, so that's a game changer. But you still haven't got anywhere for the youth teams to train.
Yeah, well, we could do another hour with that problem.
Well, the city of Ventura, when they first decided to do Kimball, told us there was going to be the fields you've got, and there would be open field usage for the rest of it, which could have hosed another 5 fields. But they never finished the job. Now, I don't know whether it was financial or whatever,
So all that open space.
Yes.
That was you can't walk through anyways.
No. That was supposed to, so it was supposed to be on this side by, where you guys train, where the surf train, that side there. Mm-hmm. There behind there was supposed to be, that. Right. It wasn't soccer fields. I'm not saying it was zoned for soccer. It was zoned for open use, which means just grass. Well, you could put soccer fields, or you could put a softball field.
Big patch of turf.
Right? But they don't do that, I'd love for Ventura College to put turf on the west field for us, where the grass is. Mm-hmm. That was my dream when I went there, to have our own complex. I got 2/3 of the way there, right? Because we got a fence up. We used to have a scoreboard. It's falling apart now. But the
grass is better. It was long and the crabgrass a couple of years ago, and now it's all better.
Yeah, they fixed it. I mean, one of the things that the college has got is, as you know, we're going to have 180 dorm rooms built. They're supposed to break ground in the spring.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We don't I don't talk too much about it because it might never happen, right? But and there's supposed to be, the rent's supposed to be like $350 to $500 a month per unit. So 180. Where the parking lot is by the tennis courts.
Mm-hmm.
So the childcare centre's there, over the road. It was originally going to be where the pool was, but now they're going to put it there, and they'll have 180 dorm rooms. And that's because the cost of living in Ventura is so high. These kids, and they're not necessarily out of state, but out of town, coming to school. It's going to help the college enrollment. For instance, international students, if you're an international student, you can attend Ventura College. But the cost would be $27,000 a year.
Really?
It's not $27,000 to go to VC. It's about $11,000. But it's $16,000 to live here and pay for your food. So what the college decided long ago was they want to know that if somebody comes from Brazil, Argentina, wherever they come from, they sit down and show they've got that money to survive. Because what they don't want is somebody coming and being homeless. So it's a good thing. Now, years ago, that money never went to Ventura College. It went to the state. Now that comes back to the college. So it's a very advantageous thing to do it. And they're not building domes for that, but that will help. Like if you look, one of these days, talk to our tennis coach, Nelson. His team is made up of Europeans, South Americans. He might have 3 Brazilians, 2 Portuguese, a Frenchie, a Brit, a South African, every year. He's got a great network out there. And of course, when you play tennis in another country, and I know that it's an affluent sport. They've got money. So he gets, like, it used to be the College of the Desert, COD, Palm Desert colleges. They were really good because obviously Palm Springs is the big tennis place, right? But over the years, the coach has moved, got a Division I job. But Nelson's been at Ventura College quite as long as me, and he has a great program. It's fantastic. We get to play against the boys. We combine classes maybe once a year, and it's like the World Cup for them. Because they all play soccer, Well, some of them don't. Some of them have got 2 left feet. But some of them, the Brazilians particularly, oh, my God. My players are like, what the hell's wrong with these guys? But, yeah, you should have him on for a podcast. Because he would be great because he can talk. He would never win a game if he had Ventura kids. Our women's team struggled to get players, just numbers. And he does a really good job. They do a good job of, getting some wins. They won the conference a few times. The men's teams win the conference every year. They've had 3 or 4 state champions. They've got 4 or 5 kids. Pedro, the guy a few years ago, he won the state championship and national. They've had kids win Ojai. Yeah, so he'd be a good one for you to have in. And he's funny.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. No, he's a hoot. You'd enjoy having him in, mate.
Is he American?
Yeah, he's an American guy. But, he's a really good guy. Yeah. He's a good guy. And then he knows nothing about soccer. So when we play our game, he's on the goddamn field, And then someone's offside, and I blow the whistle, and he's like, wait a minute, what's that for? I'm like, it's offside. He's got to be this side of the flipping line. That's bullshit. You're bullshit. So we play for the pizza game. So every year we have pizza. And then we probably played it 20 years. I think I've bought pizza 18 of the 20 years. So we have to make rules. Like, they're not allowed to kick it over the top. They complained about that. Okay. What we'll do is we'll make the field smaller. Then they can't kick it over the top.
Yeah.
Then he comes on the field, he's like, why is the field so small? I'm like, well, you didn't want to play my rules, so now we're playing new rules. It's hilarious. And the last 3 years, we've had a good time. We played penalty kicks against the football team.
Oh, yeah?
And they've beaten us every year.
Oh, no.
And they can't even kick a ball. You know how hard it is for a goalkeeper to guess where someone's going to toe punt the ball?
They don't even know where it's going.
No, do they, Hal? They just run up and kick it. And you got 80 of them screaming. It's crazy, mate. It's crazy. But it's good fun, Yeah. And for us, what it does is when you go into the playoffs, it's just like usually on a state cup, you've got to weigh up all your options. This year we spent a lot of time playing 2 at the back and 6 up front for a whole week before our first playoff game. So if things weren't going right, this is what we're going to do. Because otherwise you show up at the game and you send everybody forward. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So we decided how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it. And then the penalty competition, we played against the women's basketball team.
Okay.
We played against the men's football team. Okay. And we played against the tennis team. Because now the pressure on the girls is there, right?
Yeah.
And it helped us. It helps. We didn't go to penalty shootout, but changing the formation for me, one of the biggest misnomers that people don't do. They go to State Cup and they don't realize it's your last ever game. Be prepared for the worst, right? You play a game every week, It's funny because I watch high school soccer and some schools are playing 3 at the back, 4 in midfield and 3 up top. And I'm like, how many games in that kid's career has she ever played 3 at the back? And the high school coach thinks you can just adjust in a year, and and I know, they don't train 11v11 every day. They just got no time to do that. Not like us where we play on a Monday. We play on a Tuesday night. We're off Wednesday with pre-game Thursday, so we can do 11v11 for 20 minutes before we play on the next day, right? And it amazes me that they do these weird formations. Even youth teams are doing it.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
That's to me that's overcoaching. To me that's
always overthinking. Last year we couldn't score goals, so I thought, what am I going to do? I can't score goals. And then with people play 4-3-3, to play in a 4-3-3, you've got to have wingers.
Yeah.
I don't see any wingers around. Steve Hoffman was a winger when I was a kid. Run down the line, cross the ball, header, goal. That was my job. Run diagonally behind the back line. That was my job. Kids don't do that. So I think we played Santa Barbara, and then from then on we went to 4-4-2. And the Santa Barbara game convinced the kids because they'd beaten us quite easily at their place. We looked like little girls and they looked like women, right? At our place, we were prepared for it. We'd worked hard on this playing 4-4-2. I think we played the game before in it. And they scored it like 4 minutes in, which is not a good thing. And they're a great side, you know. So for us, we started in the 4-4-2, but it was a stupid error. Anyway, the rest of the game, we probably were the better side. But the two forwards up front, what happened is their two centre-backs didn't know who their mark. So they were screaming at their coach for like 50 minutes, like, coach, who's marking this player? It's not my player, because they're so used to having this. One mark, one drop. This makes it hard. And my kids never ran that way. They always ran this way or this way. So I won 16 championships playing 4-4-2. I've won one playing 4-3-3.
4-4-2. It's classic.
So it's a classic formation, and you know.
That's what I play. You can do anything you want in a 4-4-2,
Well,
like a 4-3-3.
you go to a 4-2-4.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? So it's just not having forwards hurt us. But the kids I had made great runs and created good situations. And that got us into the playoffs, you know, obviously for the 29th time, which is pretty good, right? 30 years, right? So we got in the playoffs because of that. But that formation, it does work. But the 4-3-3, the reason that works as well, the national team. Everybody changed on the girls' side because Jill was playing it with the national team, right? But on the 3-4-3 system, for me, you can't play out of the back. So if you're going to play direct, it's okay. You know, we play some teams from Orange County and they play three at the back and they play big. They don't build. If you want to build, it's a good formation. And the reality is your 2 and your 3 need to mark up on your outside mids. When you're in possession. Out of possession, your mids have got to tuck in to play a diamond in the middle, right? So, you know, learning that when they've never done it coming in is tough. But we'll spend a lot of time doing that because I want them to be able to go to that if we want to go to it. Obviously, if you've got a forward that scores goals, we don't need to do that, right? If you can find one of them for me, send it.
All right, well, send it over.
All right, mate.
All right, Hoffy, well...
You got some editing to do.
No, it's all good stuff. I appreciate you coming on and...
No, anytime. And like I say, I'll talk to Nelson and see if Nelson has a little bit of time. Give you a different perspective on tennis.
Yeah.
So
I don't know much about it. So
he doesn't like paddle, so don't talk about paddle.
Oh, well, that's not even tennis, so...
Well, no, that's what he says. He's not a big fan of paddle. He's like, I went out there. I said, "Yeah, can we do paddle?" But the USDC, the United States Tennis Association, brought in a game similar to paddle 5-7 years ago, and Nelson had all the gear for it. So he said, "I got all that gear in the shed. If you want to do it, you can do it." We just didn't do it, but you try and think of things to do in this. I'm sure you with your girls you do. We did bowling this year, which I was pretty good at. I was surprised. You know what I mean? The last time I bowled, I was drunk. Because that's what you do when you bowl. You drink, right? So this time I was sober, and I did all right. But when some of our girls were pretty damn good, kicked our ass. They were pretty good, you know. So I try and think of something every year that you can do differently. Karaoke was the best thing. Because, you know, Joey loves karaoke. And then we used to have the Golden China, remember, downtown there, over by the beach. And we'd take our girls every year on a Tuesday, and we'd buy food, and he'd let them sing karaoke. And the girls loved it, you know. Now we have a dance-off. We go for the dance-off. That's a good thing for you to do. Yeah. When we go on the road, we take the sound system. We're in a hotel, and we tell the girls, right, dance-off today, freshmen, sophomores. And then, literally, if I showed you, you'd be like, they learned that in an hour? They literally, we give them like, what, you got an hour, get sorted. And they go, and they get costumes, and they prepare for it, you know what I mean? So we used to do that with the ODP program, Boys Against Girls. It was brilliant, you know. We've had some unbelievable dancers, mate. Unbelievable.
Well, soccer is a dance, so...
Yeah, it's fun. You got to make it fun for them.
All right, Hoffy. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and you're welcome to come back anytime.